The Spinning Back Clique, where each week here at MMA Junkie, we take a spin through the biggest stories in MMA. And on today's episode, we're going to talk about some of the big recent fight bookings that the UFC has made. And we got to talk about UFC 324 because it's fight week, baby. That's right. Hello, everyone. Gorgeous George here on the con. And look at the distinguished panel we have for you today. Goes from MMA Junkie Radio. He's my co-host on the long-running Junkie Radio podcast. Danny Segura is down in the 305. He is the host of Hablemos MMA. And Dan Tom, he is our fight analyst. He's also based in Las Vegas. You got to subscribe to his email newsletter. It is amazing, especially for all you punters. All right, guys. Again, we're going to get to UFC 324. A little patience, but man, there was some fight bookings this week that kind of had a theme to it, and we'll see if you guys caught on to it by the time we're done. I'll circle back. Did you hear Israel Adesanya versus Joe Pyfer? That one hit me out of nowhere, fellas. UFC Seattle, March 28th. What are your thoughts on that booking, Danny Segura?
I like it. I think it makes a ton of sense for both Pyfer and Adesanya. It's a proper main event for a fight night. It does feel that it's fitting. And yeah, all in all, I think it makes sense. I think it's a very important fight for both fighters, a crucial fight for both fighters. And I'm curious to see how it plays out. Also, the styles of it are very contrasting as well. All in all, I think the matchmakers did a great job with this one.
Dan Tom, it's not a rematch. We're cool, right?
No, you know, it's a good fight, but I always joke, right? Whenever Dana White says, listen, guys, I got a big announcement. I always want to do my meme of the ancient alien guys where it shows him going, aliens. But instead of that, it's Dana White and it says middleweights or middleweights and rematches. And that's what we got. We got a middleweight fight and a rematch fight, baby. They went to the well, but they went to the well, you know, Pyfer versus Adesanya does make sense in all fairness. But the trend still persists, guys. Get ready for the next big announcement. Some more things you've never heard of that'll blow your mind back. Called middleweights, folks. It's amazing.
All right, Goes. How about you, man? Finish out the thoughts here on this middleweight matchup, which I'm really digging it, kind of.
I like it. I think the UFC's kind of showing their hand in 2026. Not that they haven't been doing this before, but you can kind of tell what they're doing with their booking. And I think this is the first of many of these fights where we see the up-and-coming guy trying to get over on the established veteran. And the matchup itself, you just never really know what Israel Adesanya you're going to get. But if you get the best one, I think this is going to be a pretty interesting matchup. And I think from matchmaking eyes, you look at it and you say, if Izzy wins, he's back. He's a guy they love to promote, right? And they'll do that. And if Pyfer wins, well, now we know that he's a guy who can take out top-level talent. So I think no matter what happens here, the UFC is the winner.
I salute Israel Adesanya for taking this. I think, remember, Dan, we were talking about, putting that ladder down for the next guy, because someone did it for you on the way up. Leave it for someone else as well. Help them prove themselves, because he's not just going to help them up. You got to fight for that spot. So it's up to Joe Pyfer. But this really they're looking at Pyfer going, is you for real? Prove it. And Israel Adesanya, you still got gas in that tank. Prove it. So, yeah, It goes, you uncovered it. The up-and-comer against the aging veteran. Ready for another one, fellas? Well, no. Let's talk a little bit more about this one. Adesanya, does he retire, Goes, if he loses? Because that's another thing we have to contemplate for the aging star.
I would think so. I think the way that it happens probably means a lot, too, in the direction in which he would go. But Israel Adesanya has just never struck me as a guy that if he doesn't think he can't, if he thinks he can't be the best, I don't think he would fight. And I think he genuinely thinks that he can get back to where he needs. But honestly, it's shit or get off the pot time for him, right? Like, you don't have too many more of these opportunities. And I would say if he were to get KO'd, that'd probably be the end of him. If it's a decision, it might be one of those where we wait again a long time to see if we see him or not. But I don't think he would like to have that type of ending to his career, which has been pretty damn good.
And Danny, Izzy's been pretty clear that he's really not trying to float around and do the bare knuckle scene or anything else. He's kind of all in on MMA, so that's even more pressure on himself, wouldn't you think?
Yeah, and I agree with Goes. I think if he loses, he's done. Especially if he loses bad. I can see him maybe doing one more, something like that, but done in the sense that, like, it wouldn't be too many fights left Maybe one more like a buy in Australia or New Zealand if they go back, something like that. But certainly, I think it would signal that his days as a contender are over. And I think there's already proof out there that signals that. But this would be sort of the nail in the coffin. So yeah, big fight for him, man.
Dan, no one looks at fights and fighters more than you. What you've seen out of Pyfer and what you've seen out of Izzy, and I'm not talking about Prime Izzy because he's not Prime Izzy anymore. Does Pyfer have what it takes to be in that octagon? Is he sharp enough? Is he seasoned enough, to take that next step?
I think he's skilled enough, but sharpness and seasoned enough. Those are the two. I like you use those words, George. Those are the two key words because sometimes he hasn't maybe made the best decisions in there as far as, the sharpness goes, right? And the seasoning, obviously, Adesanya's got more seasoning in this spot. So that's always going to be, a key test to what these matchmakers kind of like to do. I also want to shout out to Joseph Boza in the chat who asked if Izzy could maybe move up to like light heavyweight. I don't think that's a good move for him. So I kind of am more on the camp of Danny and Goes as far as like, yeah, Izzy seems like he's a guy who wouldn't want to fight. I'm sure he would have some post-boxing stuff. I don't put that past any fighter. That's sadly where the paydays are, it seems like. Maybe he headlines one of Dan Hooker's backyard boxing. But yeah, as far as the Pyfer side of the equation, though, goes, like him or not, it does make sense. It's a good testing spot for him. And the sharpness and seasoning in particular, George, is what's going to be tested for that fight.
Good shout out to the Dan Hooker backyard fighting. I've seen that recently. All right. Well, again, that's happening on March 28th. Lots of time between now and then, but it involved a big name. Israel's a future Hall of Famer. He did have 5 title defenses at one point. So let's see if that run is over for him. Rob Font versus Raul Rosas Jr. UFC 326, March 7th. Back to Dan Tom. You digging this one, man? There's probably about a 20-year age gap here, right? Something like that. No, maybe closer to 15.
Yeah, this is another more classic matchup spot, older versus young. We've got stylistic matchup there, a striker versus grappler on paper. Obviously, Font's done a lot to improve his grappling, very experienced. And Rosas Jr. is only getting better. But again, this is a real test me spot. I'm always really curious to see where the odds are on these ones too, because a lot of the times the odds follow suit with the hype and what the matchmakers are thinking, right, guys? Where we'll probably see Raul Rosas, even if he doesn't open as a big favorite, he'll probably close as a pretty decent sized favorite. That's going to be my most confident prediction in these kind of fights is always that.
Yeah. Goes Font is 38, but he's savvy. He doesn't just go away easily. He's checked a few young guys. Remember Kyler Phillips, Adrian Yanez, so he's been down this road before where he's being tested by the up and comer.
Yeah, he has, and you could. It's nothing against the UFC. Every sport kind of does something similar. Remember they were supposed to fight before, and when that fight was announced, I remember thinking to myself, I think Rob Font has this. He's going to have no problems. But Raul Rosas Jr. has been improving. The one thing though is this kid has had to learn on the job, and he's a lot younger than some of the fighters that have had to do this. And so sometimes when that happens, I think it's just the basics that can kill you. And one of the basics that Rob Font has down is that jab. It's a piston of a jab. And if you don't know how to deal with it, you're not going to learn in the cage that night. So I think when they first announced it, I had Rob Font all day. I think it's a closer matchup now, but I think Rob might still catch this kid.
Okay. Danny, so I checked, and it's 17 years. Font's 38. Rosas is 21. Rosas has been fighting guys like Vince Morales. I always butcher this name, Ayori Kilang, Ricky Turcios. You notice, like, a lot of these guys are solid. We respect them all if you're in the UFC, but they haven't done what Rob Font's done. Is Rosas ready, man?
I mean, I think it's time, right, to take that step. As you mentioned, those names are good, especially to start off your UFC career. But he's already been in the UFC for already a few years, had a good amount of fights, and I think now is an appropriate time to ask that question. And that's why we're seeing this matchup. What I do find curious is that this fight, I believe, has been booked twice before. So the matchmakers like this fight for Raul. Obviously, you would assume they're booking it for him, not for Font, right? Given that he's a star. So, those guys are pretty smart. I feel like Raul Raul's team probably sees something there, and in the matchup, and so do the matchmakers. And there's a reason why they've been adamant about getting this one done, or having this one be the introduction to Raul Rosas to the rankings. So yeah, I would think that he is ready. I actually would have him to win the fight.
Oh, we'll come around for the predictions.
But yeah,
for your early lean.
He's ready. I think he's ready.
But okay, you answered the question. You think he might be ready? Cool. Here's another one, guys. Like Go said, up and comer versus veteran. Chito Vera, Marlon Vera versus David Martinez, UFC Fight Night 268 on February 28th. What are your thoughts on that booking? And I have to mention it, so I'm going to go back to Danny Segura here. This one's going down in Mexico City. That's kind of like a whole other element that needs to be said because of that high altitude, like 8,000 to 10,000 feet, man. That's no joke. That's almost 2 times as much as Colorado, which is the Mile High City, where we always hear things like that, impacting all sports.
Yeah, Mexico City is the place where the UFC goes to that has the highest elevation out of all the places they frequently visit. But honestly, I'm not too worried about that for Chito. By the way, for those that don't know, David Martinez trains out of Mexico City. He is from Mexico City. So for him, he's already used to that. But Chito has really good cardio. We've never really seen that guy gas. So this is 3 rounds as well, not 5. So I don't necessarily think that cardio will be an issue here. I think skill, and there's other aspects that signal me that Chito Vera might be in trouble here, but cardio not necessarily is one of them, despite the alarming stats of it being in Mexico City. I think for most people it would be, but not for Chito.
All right, Danny makes a good point. Chito is not really known, I guess, that way. He's more known as the slow starter, Dan Tom. But I guess I should also point it out, air quality and then the adjustment to nutrition, the water, all these things, which I have to bring up because our old boy, Joe Pyfer, he didn't adjust very well recently.
Yeah, that is very true. That is very true. I just want to say that I'm glad they put this fight in because of we were looking at the card before, and I tweeted this out. Before this, they had the co-main event slotted to be like, what was it, Messi Chesson versus the twerking Eileen Perez. Sorry, I don't mean disrespectful, but yeah, and again, not to be disrespectful to those 2 ladies, but it was just a classic. Like, what are we doing here? Not really the strongest card, especially when you want to go to these markets and fighting markets like Mexico City. You want to go there strong. But yeah, I really didn't like the co-main event choice. This definitely helps the card. This is a more sensible, very in line with the matches we're talking about here, guys. Very similar dynamic. So yeah, I got no problems with it. And I'm happy to see more of David Martinez.
You're right, Dan. There are some cities that are like fight nights on steroids versus other places that are just fight nights. Mexico City, for sure. London, Paris, France. You got to come a little back than your usual fight night. All right, Goes, what do you think here, man, with this matchup? Chito Vera against David Martinez. Martinez looked good in that last one.
He did, but with Marlon Vera, he's got to turn things around. He's got to get something going, and I think it's going to come down to adjustments. Who's going to be able to adjust in real time? Because we kind of know what both of them like to do and what they're going to do, but they're going to have to adjust to each other. And can Marlon finally put that together? Like I think Danny mentioned it, the slow starts, all this stuff that we've been kind of saying over the last couple of years. Hopefully he can turn it around because he's liked by the fans, but you have to produce results, right?
Yeah, I want to give a big shout out in the chat to Victor Manuel checking us out via YouTube. And Joseph Boza comes in with another great line. Sea-level Kane, that is pretty much the moniker that was given to Cain Velasquez, who used to have kind of one of the best cardios around for heavyweights, and he did not do very well when he fought Fabricio Verdum about a dozen years ago or so. And he came in 2 weeks in anticipation of it. The only problem is the Kings MMA team and Fabricio Verdum were there for 2 months. Mm-hmm. And I think that definitely might have made a difference because Kane was never admonished for his cardio, and he felt it that night. All right, we're going to continue on here. Don't forget, share this with your friends. Right now, we still have 40 minutes left in the live show, but at any point in time, you can share this and make it so easy via social media, also hitting the like button. We appreciate that, and kindly consider subscribing to the channel. And this would be a great time because we got you covered, man, for UFC 324, which we're going to discuss in just a couple minutes. We're going to have everything you want. I mean, all the press conference, all the one-on-one interviews. We're going to have the official weigh-ins. We're going to have the watch-along that Goes and I are going to host on Fight Night. We're going to have the post-fight press conference, all for free. And why not check in with us for all this? Fada Hanoun also with our preview show on Saturday. And remember, everything happens an hour earlier in this Paramount era, especially when we're talking about the numbered events, 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific for that main card. Numbered events, no longer pay-per-views. Well, at least here in the United States. Let's continue on here. Paulo Costa versus Azamat Murzakanov, UFC 327, April 11th. Man, Costa's going to 205. He's playing with some bigger cats now, but at least I think he won't have to suffer through these weight cuts that I think really sometimes hinder him. Goes, your thoughts here? Is he making the right move against the heavy-hitting Murzakanov?
I don't think so. These guys are getting big. We need Paulo Costa to show up for the fight. That's for sure. I mean, now when you see the name, you almost kind of roll your eyes a little bit. But I'll say this, I feel like the tone of the matchup has changed. Right now he's got an undefeated guy in front of him, and I think that's the UFC kind of telling you something. Doghouse, maybe? I don't know. But this is definitely a different type of matchup for Paulo Costa, but he's got to show up. He's got to show up to the fight.
I think my money would be on the Diaz brothers showing to a viewing party. Both of them on time before Paulo Costa making it to a fight. Sorry, Paulo. We love watching you, man, but you put us through this. Anyway, Danny, your thoughts here? Paulo, is he making the right move? And do you like the matchup?
No, not at all. I don't like the light heavyweight move. I think he was just good at middleweight. I think he was one of the bigger guys, but still able to maintain his cardio and all the things that you would think that would go away with a drastic weight cut. He didn't look bad at 205 when he did fight Marvin Vettori, but keep in mind Marvin Vettori was also moving up, 185er. Yeah, I don't like this one, but I'm also not too confident that it goes down. I mean, as you mentioned, we've probably seen Paulo Costa in the last 5 years or so drop out of more fights than actually compete in. So this would be one that, I mean, I'm not a fighter, but I would consider dropping out of. I mean, again, a weight class above, undefeated guy. This guy's nasty, knockout artist. I don't know. It just doesn't seem like a good fight for him.
Mm-hmm. Dan, Tom, your thoughts?
Yeah, I love that you mentioned the weight difference, right? Because that's the thing that jumps out here. And it's not a big deal because Murzakonov's not the biggest light heavyweight. Like, Murzakanov maybe should be at middleweight, right? This guy looks like David Harbour from season 4 of Stranger Things in the Russian prison. He's one of many. Now that Martin Bidet's out of the league, he is the lone David Harbour doppelganger. My guy Azamat. So I'm actually really happy with this matchup, low-key, of all the other matchups. Now, I'm not getting excited for it to happen because, A, it's Paulo Costa, and B, even though, the drastic C word COVID maybe doesn't, permeate the headlines, but it still feels like we're amongst that era where it's like, I don't feel too confident getting too excited about these fight announcements before they happen, guys. I want to wait till fight week, and even then it's not a guarantee, but I do like this matchup. I don't know if I like it for Paulo Costa. I think it's going to be a tough one for him, even though he just beat a Russian southpaw in Kopylov not long ago. But yeah, I don't know if this fight goes well for him. I just hope it happens because I think it'd be great for Murzakanov. He definitely needs a name and some relevance to boost him up to the light heavyweight in the mixed discussion.
Murzakonov's a silent assassin, man. He's making noise. Well, no, that's the wrong thing to say. He's making waves, but he hasn't made that noise that should make him like he should be a bigger name than Shara Bullet. Honestly,
he's better.
But Shara Bullet's just got it, right? That it factor right now. No shade at him. But Murzakanov, he's a mercenary, man. This is a dangerous fight for Paulo Costa. But I like it. All right. Last one. Josh Emmett versus Kevin Vallejos in Vegas on March 14th. This is a fight night 1 week after UFC 326. Danny, your thoughts on this one, man?
I like it. I think it makes a ton of sense. I know he had called out Cub Swanson after his fight, but he made a joke kind of like, oh, call out Cub Swanson, 42-year-old UFC legend. Media goes crazy. UFC goes, here you go. Josh Emmett, 41-year-old legend. UFC legend, and then everybody's all of a sudden super excited. But Josh Emmett, if I'm not mistaken, is he still in the rankings? Either he's still in the rankings, or he's got to be like freshly removed. But he's still a guy that not that long ago was fighting for an interim belt against Jay Rodriguez. Cub, on the other hand, his best days are really far behind. So I like this fight a lot. Two strikers, two heavy punchers. Obviously Vallejo's much younger and in a better career moment right now, but never count out Josh Emmett. That's a dude that takes every fight seriously, goes in there extremely prepared, well trained, or as best as he can. You rarely or never actually see him out of shape. The dude's got power. He's mean. He's tough. He's always in a fight. So I like it. I think it's a good matchup for Vallejos. Also a dangerous one. I think there's a good amount, like a healthy amount of both being a manageable fight, but at the same time, beating a guy like Emmett would also show us and tell us something about Vallejos, right? No scrub can get past Josh Emmett. I'll tell you that. So, I like this matchup. 10 out of 10.
Because it seems like not that long ago, Bryce Mitchell got iced by Josh Emmett. But since then, Emmett's tumbled a bit. Mitchell's made a move to another weight class. And Vallejos looked great in his last fight against Gaethje, who actually held his own early on in the fight before succumbing to Vallejos. Your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I was going to say, I thought he looked good, but you're right. Giga did give him some problems here and there. Giga's the more pinpoint striker. Josh is more the power striker, but Josh has got to turn things around here. I get it. He's still a dangerous guy, and I think he's lost 2 in a row in the past and turned around, never lost 3 in a row. This is where he does have to turn it around, but Kevin Vallejos is tough, and I think he's improving. It goes to show, man, the talent in this division. Like you just can't mess around. These guys will creep up on you. But I wouldn't count Josh Emmett out just yet. But Kevin Vallejos, I think, probably has the edge right now.
Mm-hmm. Dan, is this one more for show? And I'll explain what I mean. He kind of just proved himself against an aging veteran in Giga. That's been the theme here: aging veteran versus up and comer. Vallejos just did that, but yet they're giving him another one. Are they, as the UFC, just telling us, man, this is just fireworks? That's why we're making it.
It could be that, if we want to be generous with the credit, it certainly is an attractive matchup, right? You got two kind of like stout boxers and whatnot. It kind of reminds me almost of the Dan Ige versus Josh Emmett fight, which was much closer than people remember. I know I'm biased here, but you watch back, Ige, there's a good argument that Ige won that fight. So I'm excited to see another kind of 5'7" stout boxer. You got an up and coming guy like Vallejos, so I'm going to see what he can do against Emmett. I'm curious, man, because I feel like Emmett, he's had more of a chance and been livelier in a lot of fights than he's been given credit for, despite me just taking credit away from him in one of his last 2 wins. But I'm kind of disappointed for the Emmett side of this. I feel like he deserved better. He's in his 40s. He doesn't have much left. He's really been making this push, to push himself out there, and he doesn't want to be a champion. He seems like he's content with being, a knockout puncher, a gatekeeper in the glorified, non-disrespectful sense, and was hoping maybe they'd give him a bit of an easier, maybe more kinder matchup. But this is still kind to the fans, to your point, George. We'll see what he can do out here. I expect him to be a pretty decent-sized underdog, though, to Vallejos.
All right. Guys, there's still 35 minutes to go on this live show. It's live every Monday at noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. Get the word out. Please hit the like button and consider subscribing. We got you covered. Look, I'm going to do a quick round, and one person's going to benefit from this, and it's in the chat. As Ray, probably Arizona Ray Videos, I think is what that is. He's asking some good questions, and Goes is kind of engaging them, but I'm going to try and look to the chat a little bit more, and I promise we'll get to UFC 324. But real quick, guys, Danny, I'm going to give you this one. He says, will UFC 324 have eye pokes? 2025 was the year of the spinning elbow and eye pokes. What do you think, man? 6 weeks off. I knew the refs and the judges said they're going to try and change things up a little bit. It really did ruin some fights and almost ruined a few others. Waldo Cortez Acosta, he got through his, but Tom Aspinall didn't. But what do you think will happen here this year with that?
Will we see eye pokes?
Yeah. Or A decline in the price, what he means.
No, probably the same. I mean, nothing has changed. Maybe we'll see how they react to it in terms of points taken away and everything. But the cage is still the same size, or the same 2 sizes. The gloves are still the same. I don't see why it would change.
It's got to be, I think, on the refs to get in there earlier. He also asked, will the Paramount product look the same as the previous ones? What do you think, Goes?
I don't think so. It seems like of all the streaming services, Paramount seems to kind of up their production a little bit more. So I expect them to have a couple different bells and whistles. Now, nothing too drastic because we know the UFC controls a lot of that, but you can already see by the way that they're handling the catalog and all that, it does seem a little different. So I would expect something.
Good point. That's a good point. I've been getting rave reviews about all the fights being easy to access if you go to Paramount Plus and work in the UFC. All right, Dan, this one's for you, man. Thoughts on John Anik believing less fights on a card would improve the product? What John Anik was saying was, instead of 15 fights, let's have 10, but that might also come at the cost of cutting about 150 fighters off the roster. Last we heard, it's around 800. That would get it down to 650. Your thoughts here?
Preach, John Anik, preach. I know the genie is already out of the bottle. You know, it's too late. The content machine, the ultimate filler of content, the UFC, is running. I mean, that is their new unofficial nickname. Let's be honest, right? And that's kind of what I expect on the Paramount Plus era. I've been enjoying myself some Landman and some Mobland. You know, I don't think they're going to have Billy Bob, you know, flanking American fighters out to the cage while, you know, Tom Hardy's coming out with the English one. So that would be pretty freaking cool, though. But yeah, you know, I don't know how much I'm expecting there, but as far as what Anik said about the product, I do think it would make the product better than anything Paramount Plus could do to kind of combine those two categories. In fact, and you guys know, man, I'm preaching to the choir. Some of the best cards we've had in the sport, like go back to Pride 33, baby. One of the best cards of all time happened right here in Las Vegas. I believe you guys were there. Goes George, I believe you guys were there at it, but it was only 9. It was only 9 fights on the card, and one of the commentators, your guy's buddy, old Tag Radio host Frank Trigg, fought and commentated on that card. Right? I mean, that's how tight the crew was, and it was still one of the best cards ever. You guys that weren't around, I'm not trying to sound like an old man here. Please forgive us, okay? But you guys got to understand how short and sweet it was. All the fights were meaningful. The pacing was great. Like a 6-fight main card, get out of here. That is still nuts to me, guys. I'm still not used to it after a decade. Preach, John Anik. I know it's too late, but it would make so many things better, and it would arguably make the UFC, you know, maybe take its stewardship role, the sport more seriously, because you would probably mean you have to foster more relationships with your regional promotions and hopefully have that, you know, a tide raises all boats effect, as opposed to now where we're having this weird exodus. We're seeing where the chips are following. I'm going to dive into the streaming this week, guys. I've not heard good things about it personally, and I don't know how it's going to affect people like me who make content for free for the UFC to help promote them, despite them hitting us with content strikes. I don't know if those are going to be even more prevalent now because we can't screen record like we could on the Fight Pass app, right? I won't be able to do that on Paramount. So again, all these little minutia things that people might not care about, I think we're going to find out this week, folks.
Yeah, we got to see how it takes off and then judge it there. Maybe we'll circle back on these questions in after these 2 back-to-back events. UFC 325 is the following weekend. So the UFC is coming out of the gate with 2 numbered events. I'll take this one real quick. Prince Vegeta Son says, Brendan, meaning Brendan Shaw, was talking about Paramount putting Brian Ortega and Mackenzie Dern in fight kits instead of real clothes. And he's talking about the Golden Globe Awards. I would agree. I have long said the UFC wanted someone like Mackenzie Dern to be a champion. Dull her out. Don't put her in a, no disrespect to the Venom kit, but she doesn't accentuate herself in that. And Brian Ortega is one of the best looking dudes on the roster. You know, he's looking pretty sharp. Same thing. Do the same thing to him. They're both Cali kids. Maybe that's what made it easy. That's why they got chosen. But Mackenzie's a champ, for crying out loud. You know, and they didn't even say a word. Have them present an award. Yeah, they dropped the ball there. I think Brendan was spot on with that. All right.
Cheesy.
What's that? Yeah.
It was cheesy, yeah.
Yeah, the announcement they made, and, you know, they don't need security around them. Like, it just didn't go over well. It was kind of like Frank Trigg throwing the opening pitch at the Cubs game, going back to our old host, Um,
I don't know if it was that bad.
Could you imagine if they let Derek Lewis on there and they gave him the mic? That would have made a statement.
Crack a joke. Yeah. Why not?
oh yeah, probably wants to go
Something.
deep on someone on land, man.
Oh, and by the way, check out my fight at UFC 324. January 24th. Simple.
Goes, why are you defending Frank Trigg? Dora the
I'm
Explorer
not.
had a nicer pitch than Frank Trigg that day.
I'm not defending him. I'm saying
Oh.
it wasn't that bad. Like for Trigg's
Oh,
pitch
man,
was horrible. And the worst part of that whole thing was the person that went up to throw the pitch after him was Dora the Explorer, and she threw a strike. So, I mean, yeah, it was not that bad.
Trigg getting all the mentions today on today's show.
Man, Trigg was the biggest ball buster back in the day. He can take a few. He can take a few strays from us. Good stuff there from the chat. If you guys have some more, we'll try and circle back towards the end. We got to talk about UFC 324. It goes down this week here in Las Vegas. It's the first show of the Paramount Plus era. Guys, what's your excitement level for this card? This is the first fight. And remember, they lost the fight. So judge them on the fight card they built prior to losing Harrison versus Nunes. To me, it looks pretty deep, but I want a 1 through 10 from you guys. Danny?
Ooh, I would give it an 8.7. 8.7.
9.1.
Dan Tom.
I'm gonna say 7.9, but they can finish stronger. But I'll give it a 7.9 pre-flop.
I like 8.5. So at least we're all kind of up there a little bit with that little wiggle room to see if the fights deliver. And then, of course, we'll judge it again on next week's Spinning Back Clique. But look, I think they did a pretty decent job. They took a big hit losing Amanda Nunes and Kayla Harrison, but this is what they still have. This is the new main card, folks. Justin Gaethje versus Patty Pimblett for the interim lightweight title. Sean O'Malley versus Song Yadong is your new co-main event. Waldo Cortez Acosta versus Derek Lewis. Someone's going to sleep there. That's the featured bout. The swing bout is Natalia Silva versus Rose Namajunas. They got promoted from the featured prelims to the main card because of Nunes and Harrison being off. And Arnold Allen versus John Silva. I mean, we can't really complain too much about that one. How big of a blow was it goes to lose Harrison and Nunes?
It hurt. I think it really, really hurt the card. Look, it's seeing somebody of her caliber of Amanda Nunes coming back is good enough, right? But on top of it, coming back to possibly recapture her title and fighting one of these names that we've been throwing around for the last 2-3 years in Kayla Harrison, there was a lot to there. There was a big story in that. So now her just kind of being in limbo and coming back doesn't have the same oomph, like I think it really, really hurt women's MMA. It hurt Amanda Nunes a lot. It was pretty much as bad as it can get.
Dan, one of the names that volunteered herself to step in was Juliana Pena. And before anyone laughs it off, she's technically 1-1. This would have settled a trilogy. It was a trilogy that didn't need settling because Nunes looked so good in the rematch. But to be fair, Pena has found a way to win the title twice. Would you have done that, Dan, maybe for the interim? Or do you like the fact that they're just going to wait and do this sometime later this year?
I think you got to wait it out, especially because it's candy perhaps candy for the Amanda Nunes side to come back. Maybe Amanda Nunes doesn't want to make that cut to 135 if it's not for Kayla, for the legacy, for the payday, and all those things, right? And she could still get a decent payday, and her legacy probably wouldn't hurt. I think she probably wins that fight even coming off the couch, unless she really drops the ball like the first fight. But yeah, I don't hate it at all. I say, rebook it, and not to be like I told you so or this or that, guys, but everybody gets mad. What are you talking about? No, there's no co-main events, Dan. Well, again, these lady co-main events that we just talked about, like they're not even giving the fighters. Remember, it used to be 8 weeks minimum, guys, right? Like that was for like prelim Joe Schmo got his 8 weeks. Like now, championship fighters in super fights, in 10-pole events, which the UFC doesn't do unless it's like a dictator's birthday now. Even then, we're not even giving our fighters 8 weeks, and not even that. You got someone like Kayla Harrison who needs 10 weeks just to make the weight. So I kind of figured this fight wasn't going to happen. It was just sad because it really would help the card, which, by the way, probably should at least be an 8.0. I was being cheeky with the 7.9. I'll bump it to the 8.0 for reasons we'll talk about in a second. But I think this was a huge blow, but yet the right move to try to keep the fight together.
I like that earlier fan voice you did, Dan. I thought a Supercross commercial was coming on the TV.
Yeah.
All right.
Sunday.
Yeah. Danny Segura, do you agree with Dan Tom? What would you have done? Would you have filled something in? Maybe Amanda could have benefited. She would have liked the pay cut, or sorry, the weight cut, but the payday would have been nice. And maybe shake off some of that rust before the eventual fight with Kayla.
Yeah. I don't know about Juliana Pena. I feel like she's already had a lot of her shots, and I feel like there's some sort of fatigue. Yeah, I know it's 1-on-1. Technically, you could do the trilogy, but I think Aileen Perez, and I know you guys might laugh at that one, but I think Aileen Perez would have been a nice tune-up fight. And I mean, I say this all the respect with Aileen. Aileen maybe goes in there and beats her. Who knows? But she's getting ready for a February fight, so she's already in training camp. She's talked so much shit about Amanda Nunes in the past. She can promote a fight, love her or hate her. She's great at that, and she embraces being a villain and all that. I think that would have been the move. But I'm also not mad that they postponed it, because this is a very big fight. This is one of the biggest fights, one of the most historic, one of the most high-level fights we've ever seen, or matchups that we've ever seen on paper between Harrison and Nunes. So, I do get why you kind of want to take a conservative route and preserve it as well. So, yeah, I'm not mad that it got postponed. But yeah, I think Aileen Perez could have also been in the conversation. Could have been an option.
Plus, they could have brought back Argentina versus Brazil, man. They always
World Cup's coming up too. So
I was talking about Miss Universe, man. Miss Argentina, Brazil. They're always in those final 12. But yeah, they could have brought back that rivalry, and yeah, the World Cup is coming up as well. All right, moving on. Gaethje versus Pimblett. Does it still feel legit, guys? Little info has come in the last few days. Ilya Topuria says he's coming back between April and June, so the second quarter of 2026. This now has different implications. What do you think of this? Does it still feel right, man, without Sarukian? Because I don't know if we can wiggle in Sarukian now if the Undisputed's coming back soon. Traditionally in combat sports, the interim fights the Undisputed to unify, unless you're John Jones and you have to fight Stipe Miocic and not Tom Aspinall. But yeah, you get it.
Yeah, no, it does not. It feels like WWE. It feels like they're fighting for the Intercontinental Championship or something, right? Like, in my opinion, the winner of this fight will be the third best lightweight in the world, behind Topuria and Sarukian. And Sarukian's life just completely changed with that one comment from Ilya Topuria. Like, now he might have to take another fight. Like, this is no longer a doghouse. This is a dog mansion that he lives in, right? Like, what does it take for this guy to get out of this? That he's the one that I want to see fight. Don't get me wrong, like Paddy Pimblett, I love what he's been doing. It's not his fault. He's taking everything the UFC's given him. He is improving. He's got his weight under control. But yeah, this fight just, I don't know, it doesn't have it for me.
Danny, your thoughts on this whole mess? Like I say, we have a guy that's coming off a great win over Dan Hooker, but apparently he's still in the proverbial doghouse and wasn't asked to compete for this interim title. And before you say something, Danny, I just know the comment section is a lot of fun, and I always go there at the end of the show. And I know there's going to be one or two of you already bitching that we hammer the UFC. We do this to improve the UFC, all right? They are not perfect. They do a lot of great matchmaking. They run a great company, but they do mess things up from time to time. And that's why I brought back Jones, Miocic, Aspinall. Look at the mess that made for us. I don't want to repeat it. Go ahead, Danny.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how anybody sees this fight as defining number one contender and like, oh yeah, the winner here is the best lightweight on the planet, right behind the champion, of course, Ilya Topuria, and the most deserving contender to challenge Ilya Topuria. When you got Sarukian just, destroying people, and, RAF competing and just teching Lance Palmer in seconds. That guy is the number one contender and the best lightweight out of all the contenders, period. And I don't think an interim title will change that, right? Maybe some of the casuals will not know or be too familiar with who Arman is. So maybe there'll be a certain part of the population that will see the winner of Pimblett and Gaethje as the guy to beat Ilya Topuria, maybe. But the people watching the show, the people that follow MMA Junkie, they know what's up. And I don't think we'll find those comments, George. I really don't. I think this is a very unanimous feeling from the community that Sarukian is the guy, period. And it's not even about the UFC messing things up or not. They screwed him over. He's been the most deserving contender. And don't talk to me about, oh yeah, the headbutt cost him the fight and that's a no. Dude, they used an entire video of Conor McGregor assaulting a bus, throwing a dolly, and literally injuring fighters, taking them out of fights to promote a fight. So don't sell me this whole thing that all of a sudden, these little mishaps are a big no-no in the UFC. Look, if Arman would have been just as popular as Conor, they would have used that same headbutt as like, yo, this guy's unhinged. Check him out on Paramount. He's about to fight. They would have used the same shit. So, Arman gets screwed. Arman's the number one contender, and no matter who wins the interim belt on Saturday, Arman's the number one contender. Period.
All right, Dan, I want to get your thoughts on this mess as well. But a big shout out to Luke Wilson in our chat room. I met that guy through chess.com. I guess I'm giving them a shout out. He kicks my ass, so I'll admit it. I think I got him recently, but for the most part, he's handed my ass to me. Thanks for stopping in, Luke. He's a big MMA fan. He's asking about Atiba Gaethje. Something tells me one of these cats is going to cover it at the end when we ask what else they're looking forward to this weekend. But Dan, go ahead, man. Unpack this whole mess happening with Pimblett, Gaethje, Sarukian, Topuria.
Man, if that's Luke Wilson, I just want to say you were great in old school, man. And I think Atiba Gaethje probably could have been in that movie in like that opening scene with Todd Phillips as well. But I shout out to Luke Wilson. Also shout out to Lazy Bed in the chat. Guys, I just want to say this. You guys hit great points that I don't disagree with, and I agree with Danny. I think that and shout out to the chat. I think not just to give credit to our chat, of course. Shout out to MMA Junkie chatters, hit the like button. But I do think they get that point. But here's my low-key, what annoys me the most, guys. I don't know about you, if you guys are feeling me on this. Here's what annoys me most about Arman getting passed over is that it's just going to – I mean, how long has our timeline already been flooded with videos of this guy eating like how I wish I could eat every night? You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm trying to lose weight over here, guys. I don't know about you. And it doesn't help to have a guy like Arman. Now he's going to be on the timeline for another 9 months to a year, just posting him eating food, waiting for his title shot. Like, I don't need that kind of temptation, man. Like, I don't need that. I get it. Like, I get it, Arman. You can eat and still be ripped. That is the reality for you. It's not the reality for me, buddy. It's not the reality for a lot of us. So I don't know about you. That's what's getting on my nerves the most over here.
He would bankrupt buffets here in Las Vegas, man. That guy throws down like Henry VIII. He is no joke on the food table runs that he has. Yeah, we'll have to see how this. We're only a few days away from seeing how this plays out. Sometimes the health of the fighter is important. Can the fighter turn it around and continue? Look at the situation we have with Pantoja, for example. We had to hold on to see how bad is that elbow injury. Could he go right away, or will we have to wait? That same thing will happen here, but with the winner of the fight. In the scenario I gave, Pantoja was the loser. All right, O'Malley versus Yadong. O'Malley says it might be the final year of his career, guys. Do you believe him? And what's at stake here, Goes?
I do believe him. I think there will be more fighters like this. I think this new generation is starting to catch on. They're looking at the previous generation, and things have not really gone too well for some of those fighters. So I think now they're getting smarter with their money. They're making better choices. And I think their shelf life in the sport is just going to be shorter. I think that's just the way it is. And for O'Malley, I think a lot is at stake. You see him kind of half joking about where he was at on the card, and I think he got used to being at the top, and it's been a little bit of a fall for him. So yeah, he's got to put things together. And for Song, I think a victory here shows that he can get a win over somebody pretty elite, and I think it'll not skyrocket him, but it'll definitely be that next step for him.
Can O'Malley get a shot at the champ, Goes? If remember, he beat Petr Yan one time. So Petr Yan probably wants to erase some of the losses of his career while he's champ, while he's defending, and while fighting a fighter who brings a lot of eyeballs. We don't know what the new metric is in terms of your paycheck, right? It used to be pay-per-view sales, but now it's different in the Paramount Plus era. What do you think, man? Can you get a title shot from this if O'Malley starts his Yadong?
Never say never, because UFC does crazy things, but I would imagine with the guys in line, it just would not make sense. It wouldn't be anytime soon. Crazy things would have to happen.
UFC be tripping. Let's talk to someone else that be tripping from time to time. Danny Segura, what do you think, man? Can he get a title shot out of all this? How do you unpack this fight? Why'd they make it? You know, because Yadong's he's really one of the better fighters. He's getting overlooked, I think.
Wait, Ghost, you believe that O'Malley cannot get a title shot if he wins here?
I think they can do things like that, but I don't think it will happen.
Really? I actually think if he goes in there and starches Song Yadong, or even just an exciting decision, I think he gets a title shot. I mean, look at what's happening in the main event of this card. I know they like Merab Dvalishvili now, but I don't think they love him necessarily. Like, if they can make a bigger fight, you know, they will. Yeah, I mean, the first fight between Yan and O'Malley was pretty exciting. It was controversial as well. It wouldn't surprise me at all if he ends up getting a title shot.
Dan Tom also auditioning for a title shot on this card would be Umar Nurmagomedov versus Davison Figueiredo, which we'll get to. But what do you think, man? O'Malley has to impress and also, I guess, outperform Nurmi, don't you think, to get a title shot?
Yeah, I think that for the reasons that Danny said, you know, whether we agree with it or not, I do think think Danny's right there that he can get boosted, even off an exciting decision. I will say though, I gotta stop doing my Ziggy Sabatka reference for Sean O'Malley with R.I.P. James Ransone, actor just dying. However, he does look like another actor, James Ransone and Sean O'Malley. That is Timothy Chalamet. And I was watching some Marty Supreme with Goes, and I was just like, you know, this guy reminds me of like a Chael Sonnen, Sean O'Malley like archetype. And you could see Sean O'Malley getting hyped where, you know, when Peter Yan beat Merab at the end of the year, right? You saw that kind of inject hope into his eyes. And, you know, I feel like he's on his own little Timothy Chalamet, Marty Supreme moment. And I think this could be a surprising run for a guy in O'Malley who I thought honestly was kind of done mentally and physically, which sounds crazy to say there. I have reasonings for it, but yeah, I didn't have too high hopes from coming off this last year, but you know, there's a spark in his eyes, guys. So let's see what he can do this Saturday, because he's got a really tough matchup, in my opinion, by the way, in Song Yadong.
So good movie, by the way, too. Go watch that movie.
Yeah, really good movie.
So you believe that O'Malley could retire this year if things don't go well, maybe as early as this fight if it doesn't go well, or if doesn't play out? He's only 31.
Not retire, but as far as championship hopes and whatnot, I think that he fits my canary in a coal mine that I've talked about. You go back from Corey Hill snapping his shin to Sean O'Malley himself to Brandon Royval down at flyweight, Andre Uhl at feather bantamweight tweeners. These long and lanky guys who cut weight and they go into their 30s, even 31. Like we just mentioned, right? That is the time where their body starts falling apart, when they continue to still want to make these weight cuts. And then mentally, he just sounded like he really got his soul stolen from Merab after that loss. I think we all kind of got that there. So not that he was going to retire per se, but both on a physical, mental, you know, the division stacked. I don't know if he was going to get back to the title, right? Especially if Merab won, right, guys? So in that sense, I felt like a nail in the coffin. Not that he was completely done, going to retire, never fight again, you know, be on the corner, you know, selling heroin, nothing like that. But I'm not, yeah, as far as championship talks, even in this era, I thought that was going to be over sooner than later, but I think he's got a chance to inject himself this Saturday.
That's quite an extreme career change there, Dan Tom.
It is.
Yeah, I know.
Heroin on the corner.
Well, he did talk about heroin and his baby at one time,
Yeah.
so maybe that's why I mentioned it.
Oh,
so, yeah,
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
Okay.
perhaps they're not too far of neighborhoods than we think, but neither here nor there.
Got it. All right. WCA, Waldo Cortez Acosta versus Derek Lewis. I mean, come on. That's going to be an awesome fight. Danny, I know you really like this one. What are your thoughts? I think you might go against a lot of the general public against this on this one. I'm giving out a tease here. Are you still holding on that Waldo gets the job?
Yeah, and I don't think I am, George. I think technically on the lines, Waldo is the favorite and I think it should be rightfully so. And I'll put it out there right now, and it'll be on my staff picks.
He's gonna
I
get
think
booed on
Waldo
the
gets
way
the
in,
job
man.
done, and he wins by knockout.
Everyone wants Derek Lewis. I mean, I'm not saying you're gonna be wrong, but most of that arena thinks Derek Lewis is gonna win. They're not.
I think it's very different. Two very different things. What do I want and what do I think is going to happen is two very different things. No, but I think Waldo gets it done, and I feel pretty confident about that. I think this is a very good matchup for him.
You agree, Goes?
I don't know. Derek Lewis always has this thing where he tells you all the things you want to hear, right? I'm best shape of my life, best camp ever. I figured this out, I figured that out. But sometimes it doesn't transfer over into the fight. Waldo just has this way of figuring it out. He finds a way to get it done. I think it really comes down to how aggressive Derek is going to be. I think the longer you leave Waldo in there to figure things out, he just finds a way. Right now, I think my early lean might be Waldo, but I'm going to reserve until staff picks.
Dan Tom, are you on Team Salsa Boy or Team Black Beast?
Look, I am the resident Team Salsa Boy hater, right? But even me, I agree with Danny Segura here, man. I think I'm not surprised to see Salsa Boy as the favorite. I think he deserves to be the favorite. And stylistically, it's been strikers, especially people who can strike and box, that actually have quietly given Derek Lewis problems going all the way back to like Matt Mitrione, right? Some of his first losses, like you go and look at that. It's usually people who try to grapple Lewis for the most part, who end up losing to him, right? And so I like this matchup for Waldo Cortez Acosta, and I got to come clean here, man. I got to take my medicine. I can brag about being right about Peter Yan and this and that. Boy, was I wrong about Waldo Cortez Acosta. Now it is heavyweight. I'm not saying he's the greatest ever. He's going to be the champion. But even a quote unquote hater like myself, the parallel I always made to Waldo Cortez Acosta, to give him credit where it's due, is I felt like he was the next Derek Lewis, right? And now he is facing Derek Lewis. So whether you have super high ceiling expectations of Salsa Boy or not, I don't see how you don't think this is a good matchup for him. Now, can he lose it? Absolutely, he could lose it. Would I be happy for Derek Lewis to win? Absolutely, I'd be happy. Is it a dog or pass from a betting perspective? Absolutely. And I think George is right, where if we poll the audience, I think Derek Lewis is going to get way more in-house support than Salsa Boy. So George isn't wrong on there either. But I do think Danny is right as far as the analysis goes. This could be a good matchup and a good night for Salsa Boy.
Yeah, I just think Derek Lewis finds ways to win. It's incredible how he does it at this age.
Yeah, sure.
And there's certain, I think the White House card that's coming up, I think he wants to be a part of it. The time off, I just think everyone's going to come in really, really hungry. The Paramount Plus era. I know we haven't been getting the most charming Dana White or the most electric Dana White with the fight announcements and things like that. But I think that night he's really going to get in these guys' his ears in their heads and tell them, come on, guys, let's go out there, let's put on a show. So I think we're going to see the best Derek Lewis, and I think he's going to find a way. Now, will he get knocked down? Probably. Waldo will too. But again, Derek finds ways to dig deep, and then at the end of the night, he goes deep. But I keep referencing the big man, but I swear to God, that dude gets me, he cracks me up. He cracks me up all the way around, and he's beloved by all. Natalia Silva versus Rose Namajunas. What's the importance here, Danny, of this bout at 125 pounds?
Yeah, I don't know if this is a title eliminator, but I do see it kind of as an audition. Also, keep in mind we have Alexa Grasso versus Macy Barber. There are a few contenders that are title shot worthy here. So I think it's an audition. There's a few fights that will define that. And I think it's the lady that looks the best. So could the winner get a title shot here? 100%. Is it completely solidified and secured just with the win? No, I think they got to be impressive, and they also got to wait and see what other results pop up in the division. But certainly a big bout with title implications, and a big bout for Rose Namajunas. I think if Natalia Silva loses this one, it's not the end of the world. She can always, get back on another run. But for Rose, I feel like she's already had several hiccups at 125. She's finally kind of putting things together. But if she were to run into another problem here and suffer an L, I don't know how how she could bounce back, especially considering how stacked that division is at the moment.
Danny, in a way, is this matchup remind you of Valentina is Topuria, Rose is Gaethje, Silva is Pimblett, and Aaron Blanchfield is kind of Marmon?
No, not necessarily, because
I think the UFC really wants Silva in a title fight. Honestly,
sure,
I really.
but I mean, Blanchfield has had her big moments, right? When she was supposed to beat, or people expected her to be Manon Fiorot. She wasn't able to get it done, so she didn't get her opportunity. Arman, on the other hand, completely got stiff-armed. Also, keep in mind that Aaron Blanchfield recently fought Tracy Cortez and won, right? So it does feel different. It does feel different, right? And also keep in mind that the original matchup that was supposed to go down here was Alexa Grasso and Rose Namajunas, not Natalia Silva. Natalia Silva stepping in on short notice. So who knows if they reached out Aaron Blanchfield as a potential opportunity. I don't know. But no, I do think the situation is different.
Goes, can the winner get a title shot?
I kind of agree with you in the sense that I think Silva is somebody that they would like to see that happen to. Namajunas, I think we need a little bit more consistency out of her.
Dan, Tom, what do you think? What are the implications here, man? I think this is a big matchup. That's why they got promoted to the main card.
Yeah, I almost wish it wasn't on short notice though, because it's an important fight, and B, this is, I mean, tell me if you guys have a similar math, but the reason why a lot of us are rating the card high, even if I've rated it lower than other people, it's not because of the main event. It's because there are 5 fights on this card, guys, including this fight between Rose and Natalia Silva that could be headliners. Now, fight night headliners, right? But that's say what you will about WMMA headliners in the Apex, but that's actually a perfect and sensible one, right? Whereas like Derek Lewis, Waldo Cortez, Costa, that could have headlined some, Nashville main event or whatever, right? Like, so that's the kind of interesting thing about this card. And this is one of those fights, guys. I almost wish it was 5 rounds. I don't know about you guys, but I do agree with the win or lose dynamics. I just wish it wasn't short notice, and I kind of wish it was 5 rounds. Call me crazy.
No, that's one nice thing about the main event of fight nights is the 5-round fights. You were gonna say something, Goes?
No, I was agreeing with Dan. I love this fight. I think it's going to be really good. Yeah, but I want to see the best Natalia Silva against the best Rose Namajunas.
Yeah,
I'm up against the clock, so Dan, let me lean on you. Give me your thoughts on Arnold Allen versus John Silva.
Another low-key fight of that 5 that I included that could have been its own headliner. More for the hardcores who actually know what the good divisions are. But yeah, put that on top of a fight night headliner. It's really good. The fact that it's on the prelims is kind of insane, but I'm excited.
John Silva's a star, man. I just think the crowd loves him, and if he wins, if he can dust himself off after that Lopez loss and beat Arnold Allen, he might be a threat to Evloev and Lerone Murphy, who just can't seem to catch a break. Danny, Umar Nurmagomedov versus Davis and Figueiredo. How big is this one? Going back to the bantamweight division, the Nurmagomedov carries a lot of clout, and honestly, Umar is a really fun fighter. He gave the champ hell back when it was Dvalishvili earlier in 2025.
Yeah. Much like the situation that I said in the women's flyweight division where it's on audition, 135, it almost is as well. I think, there's some big fights here. Obviously, O'Malley Yadong, and then you mentioned Umar versus Davison. I don't really give too much chances to Davison, and there's a reason why Umar is a ridiculous favorite going into this fight. But, man, if he's able to look good and capture the audience in a way that maybe Sean O'Malley can't, maybe you see him running it up and having him face Peter Yan next. I don't know, but certainly for Umar, I think there's title shot implications in this bout. For Davison, I don't know. Is that I just give him so little chance that I have a hard time thinking that he's going to beat him, and then how would that look like post? But maybe I'm proven wrong on Saturday. But we'll wait and see.
Umar's a massive favorite, guys. I'm seeing up to minus 1,600.
Whoa, really?
You don't see that against former champions. Yeah, it's up there, man. All right, let's go around the horn real quick as we finish up the show. Another highlight from UFC 324 goes.
Alexander Hernandez and Michael Johnson. I think they both have decent streaks coming in, and something's got to give in that fight. I think it'll be fun.
I think Hernandez, 3 and 4, respectively. It's Michael Johnson and Alexander Hernandez. Yeah, veterans for sure in an exciting weight class. How about you, Danny?
I'm going to go with Ateba Gutierrez and Andrei Pulyaev. I think Ateba, I saw him debut in Mexico actually a year ago. Dude's great, man. He's got tons of power. He needs to be talked about more, and he could do some
minus
serious
1,000,
damage
by the
at
way.
middleweight.
He's minus 1,000, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, first round knockout is the only thing you can really do to maybe even get some value here, and even that's probably not even close to plus money.
All right, Dan, give me your fight that's kind of going under the radar.
Easy. Another fight that should be headline that's buried because it's flyweight. You got Charles Johnson versus Alex Perez. Charles Johnson, another guy you could accuse me of being a hater of, but you have to give credit where credit's due. This guy knocked out the current flyweight champion, Josh Van, not too long ago. He's on a big win streak. He deserves a 5-round fight. He's a 5-round fighter. If you've seen him in LFA and organizations outside the UFC, going against underrated, criminally disrespected Alex Perez, some of the worst luck, never gets love. Yet he's always stepping up into these tough spots for no love once again. So, yeah, give both those guys some love, man.
Yeah, and we're already over, so I'll just say check out Krylov versus Bukauskas. The light heavyweight division is one of the more shallow ones. So one of these guys, if they can put something together, maybe they get some sort of a shot at a title, probably in 2027. But like I say, this division, I mean, you can rise quickly, but you got to step up and shine when it matters. Like these guys just did. Thank you to Danny Segura, Dan, Tom, and the Goes, as well as our producer, Ken Hathaway, a.k.a. Cold Coffee. He was on the 1s and 2s today. And don't forget, MMA Junkies got you covered throughout the week. All the individual one-on-one interviews, the pre-fight press conference, the official weigh-ins, the ceremonial weigh-ins, and, of course, the watch-along on Saturday with Goes and I starting at 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific. Let's watch the fights together. We are out of here. Go out and be a champion. We'll talk to you next week.